Well, welcome to the American Hour. My name's Tom Garcia, and I'm going to do a quick little interview here with former Ambassador Stan Escudero. He has quite a bit of experience in the Middle East, and we had a conversation earlier today. I want him to relate a few things to you about what the news media may be missing and what they ought to be looking into. I'll also let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his background and why he's a subject matter expert on the Middle East. If you'd like to see more of his information, including his bio, you can go to nsbnews.net. That's November Sierra Bravo News.net. That's New Smyrna Beach in Florida. And he recently just posted a great article on the recent federal judge's ruling on the health care bill. So in any case, I'll turn it over to you, Ambassador Escudero.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. It's nice to talk to you, and congratulations, by the way, on your radio show. I hope it's a great success.
Thank you, sir.
You asked me to say a few words about my background. In the early 70s, I was in Iran with the American Embassy there as a political officer, and then I went back during the revolution. I was there for several months in 78 and 79 undercover, spending time in the mosques and in the crowds in the streets and meeting with ayatollahs and members of Ayatollah Khomeini's organization in the country and that sort of thing, sometimes pretending to be an Iranian and sometimes not, in order to gain information on the nature of the revolutionary movement and what its goals were. Some years later, in the early 90s, I was the political counselor, that is the chief of the political section in the embassy, in our embassy in Cairo, serving under Ambassador Frank Wisner, who is currently the Obama administration's point man on the Egyptian issue, and if I may say so, the very best man the Obama administration could have chosen for this job, based on his talents and his experience. I went to Egypt directly from an assignment as political advisor to General Norman Schwarzkopf at CENTCOM, and I was in Egypt for the conduct of the first Gulf War, Egypt being a major player in that war with two divisions fighting on our side. So, I have a fair amount of experience with Islamic revolutionary activities there and elsewhere. I know something about the Muslim Brotherhood, although of course my information is 20 years out of date. And I know a bit about the situation in the Middle East and Egypt. I have tried to stay up on it to some degree, although I'm now retired. Now, you asked me earlier today, Tom, what additional information I thought we should be looking for from the media. And frankly, what I would like to see from the media is a bit more in-depth digging into precisely what the intentions and the capabilities are of the Muslim Brotherhood and of other players who are taking part in this current revolutionary drama. The Brotherhood, the Ikhwan, is, as the media has pointed out, multinational in its operations, originated in Egypt. It normally operates, or at least in my day it operated, with an open, above-board political arm, and then a somewhat more sub-rosa and potentially violent, what should I call it, perhaps terrorist arm. It is especially strong in Egypt, in Upper Egypt, in cities like Suez and Alexandria, and other cities closer to the Mediterranean. The fact is that it has websites all over the world, and it calls for its members to prepare for conflict against Israel. It is, as an organization, diametrically opposed to the policies of the government of Egypt ever since the 1973 war with Israel, which has been, of course, the treaty with Israel and the maintenance of a correct peace with Israel. Now, while it is true that the Brotherhood does operate sometimes in support of issues of importance to the people, they have a political agenda in that respect. And what I would like to see the media look for is the degree to which the Muslim Brotherhood has organized in Egypt a mosque-based network, particularly in Upper Egypt, but also in Cairo, which enables them to be responsive to the food needs and other assistance which the people require if the people cannot get that aid from their government. In this way, the Brotherhood, just like Khomeini's people in Iran in the old days, or like other Muslim groups in other countries, builds support for the idea of Islam as, and in this case the Muslim Brotherhood, as the appropriate interventionist vehicle on behalf of the people. And the people come to accept the simple slogans. Islam is the answer, no matter what the problem is. At least that's what the Brotherhood will tell you. Now, if the Brotherhood is busy organizing such a group, they already have a substantial amount of influence with ordinary people outside of Cairo, as well as in the poorer areas of Cairo. They may now begin to be organizing neighborhood committees in various towns and in various parts of Cairo, whose goal would be eventually to marginalize and supplant local authorities, so that people would begin to look more toward the mosque and to the Brotherhood for political direction as well as assistance. This is very important because the current Egyptian revolutionary movement is inchoate. Its members are not organized. It represents a number of disparate groups which don't have structure, which don't have necessarily common goals, and which are not really prepared to sustain themselves as a government or to sustain themselves against well-organized efforts later to push them aside. The thing that concerns me is the possibility that that the Brotherhood might initially agree to cooperate with a more liberal, more democratic government, perhaps led by El-Baradei or some other person, only to continue organizing to the point where they push these people aside later on, at such time as they feel they're ready. And the key in the course of that process will be the Egyptian military. It's been pointed out that every Egyptian government since the fall of King Farouk has been military in origin. That's certainly true for the Mubarak government. And if the military, which is in effect the establishment, if the military holds together and remains a player, they then provide an important aspect in of the political spectrum which was not long available to the Shah in Iran, but which might help to keep things stable in Egypt. However, if the military itself is marginalized over time, or if it begins to fragment, then the Brotherhood becomes potentially the most important player in Egypt, and it becomes very important to know what exactly the Brotherhood's intentions are, what exactly its capabilities are, and what capabilities it is building. So I hope that the media will begin to focus on that and try to tell us more about not what the Brotherhood says, but what the Brotherhood does.
And you mentioned something very interesting earlier, that the media really need to try and get inside some of these mosques and see what's what people are talking about inside the mosque.
Well, as I said, in the Islamic Revolution in Iran, the mosque and the mosque network of madrasas and various charitable organizations was the organizing network for Khomeini's political structure in the country. And I would imagine that the Brotherhood would want to operate in much the same way if it can. Part of my job when I was undercover in Iran during the revolution was, as I said, to spend time in those mosques and see what the akhuns and the mullahs were telling the faithful when they lectured to them, what instructions they gave them about organizing the demonstrations, and what organizers they had, what instructions they gave to the people as they moved through the streets. I would imagine that the Brotherhood has in mind much the same thing for Egypt, but whether or not they have the capability to pull that off, I don't know. So I would think it would be very useful if the media could have some of its people who speak Arabic present in the mosques and elsewhere when these discussions take place, if that's possible, if it's permitted, so that they will know what capabilities are being developed, and again, what the intention is.
Right. Yeah, I think I have an idea what the intention is. It's probably not in our best interest, but the military.
Well, I don't want to do the Brotherhood a disservice. It's not impossible that they're planning on operating as a legitimate and participating member of a democratic government. Nothing is impossible.
You're right. But we don't know.
Based on the track record of similar organizations in other Islamic countries, and based on those things which the Brotherhood itself says it wants for the Middle East, I would doubt that equal democratic participation is their ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's probably a good guess. Well, listen, Ambassador, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I want to let everybody know that you're going to be one of our guests when the radio show comes on for a full hour. This is just a little taste of the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. You've got some really great, interesting stories about your entire career working for the government as a diplomat, and we want to hear some of those stories and some of your thoughts on what's going on today currently in the world and in the U.S. And so I'll remind everybody, go to nsbnews.net and check out the Ambassador's blog and what he has to say on current issues. And you can follow the American Hour not only by going to Facebook, which is where you probably got this clip, but also on Twitter. Go ahead and look for the American Hour there, and we'll let you know when we have a full-blown website up and we're going to start doing our radio broadcast. So I appreciate you for listening to this. Thanks, Ambassador, and we wish you and your beautiful wife, Jay, a great rest of the week.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. I really enjoyed talking to you today, and I look forward to appearing on your radio show. Meantime, my blog is called The Guidepost, and I really do look forward to telling you some stories, a few of which are even true.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk again with you soon.